Is Aira still a problematic character? I say this because even after her redemption, anime and manga fans alike still have a problem with her. In fact, there's manga fans who have seen all of her growth and all of her feats and still think she's an annoying or even bad character. So there's a serious question of whether Aira is just as problematic as when we first met her. That's why in this video, I'd like to analyze Aira's character arc, address the complaints from fans, and explain why she's one of Dandadan's most important characters. Just keep in mind that this video may contain some spoilers. So obviously the root of Aira's problems is her initial personality. First off, she bullies Okarun, being nice to his face, but then telling her friends what an ugly loser he is. Then when we meet her soon after, she's talking about how Momo is a monster and that she is so pretty that she must be God's chosen one sent down to save the world. Her first impression isn't a great one, as she clearly comes off as arrogant, self-centered, and two-faced. Basically the major, shall we say, witch trifecta. So it's easy to understand why people wouldn't like Aira at first. That is, until we meet Acrobatic Silky. It's at this point that Aira isn't quite redeemed, but we do start to feel bad for her. Once the main characters beat Acrobatic Silky, they soon realize that Aira is dead. Without hesitation, Acrobatic Silky breaks her own jaw in a desperate display to prove she wants to save Aira at any cost. So, Momo links her aura to Aira's and instantly learns about their backstory, namely that Acrobatic Silky is in fact Aira's mother, who worked 3 jobs that were all terrible, to say the least, just so she could support her. But Aira was ripped away from her mother, leading to her tragic death. As a result, we learn that all Acrobatic Silky ever wanted was to buy Aira pretty dresses and give her a good life. But even after giving everything she had, she died feeling like she had never done enough. But right as she vanishes, Aira hugs her mother, says she loves her, and declares she was the happiest in the whole universe. So this does a few things. Obviously, it sets up Aira to get her new powers. And of course, it gives us a much better perspective of Acrobatic Silky to where we can pity her as a tragic character. Consequently, we also feel sympathy for Aira, who up until this point was a total witch. Notice how this isn't a redemption, as she hasn't magically lost any of her bad qualities. But at least at this point we can feel sorry for her and see that there's more to her than her flaws. It's for these reasons that this scene still remains one of the most emotional in all of Dandadan. But of course, this doesn't stop the haters, since we still have manga fans who don't like her, even after she's redeemed in the next arc. Naturally, the question becomes, what is it about Aira that people still don't like? Well, before I answer that question, make sure to like the video if you're enjoying it so far. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it helps spread the video to other viewers like you. Now, after Acrobatic Silky, Aira is pretty much redeemed in the next arc. She shows up, reveals her new powers, and works together with Okarun and Momo to save the day. More importantly, following this fight, Aira comes right out and admits to everyone in her class that she was the one who spread the rumors about Momo, explicitly says she was wrong for doing that, and even asks everyone else to stop. I mean, you could not get more of a redemption. Not only does she put herself on the front lines to help Momo and Okarun, but she even goes out of her way to correct her own mistakes, even when there's no incentive other than her own conscience. And we see Momo essentially forgive Aira as soon as this happens, which is like icing on the cake. And yet, people still don't like Aira. The main problem being that 1, she still fights with Momo, and 2, she just so happens to have a crush on Okarun. The first example, of course, is when she tries to kiss Okarun, but this still continues in the new chapters of the manga. In chapter 169, when Okarun is trying to talk to Momo, Aira accuses him of talking to her bosom, embarrasses him, and then tricks him into saying it was on purpose before she starts hanging all over him. them. It's a perfectly harmless scene, but one that you see all the time and is clearly kind of absurd. Like, it is silly, but it's really not that funny, and essentially when you've seen this same bit dozens of times, it does get kind of old. To which you might say, well, there's plenty of running gags. And that's true, but the difference is that most of those actually work. This gag doesn't really work because the setup is very forced and Okarun isn't even into it. For example, someone recently made the comparison to Juvia in Fairy Tail. The difference there is that those jokes are actually funny. Like, yeah, they are completely absurd, but they still work. Plus, while he tries to hide it, Gray is clearly into Juvia. So while he might be annoyed, there is that chemistry. With Aira, it's just not that funny. And then you have the other reason people don't like her, namely that she fights with Momo. For example, in chapter 53, Momo puts her arm around Okarun and says she'll train to get stronger. But then Aira challenges Momo and says that she'll get even tougher so she can blow Momo out of the water, leading the two characters to start fighting over Okarun. Scenes like this may not happen as often, but they're still fairly common, and again, while she's clearly been redeemed, it still feels like she's antagonizing Momo. So you might be wondering, well, what do people even like about Aira? She's got this silly crush on Okarun, and she's always fighting with Momo, so what's the deal? And really, there's two things that I personally really like about Aira. First of all, this fighting is different from before. When we first met her, Aira was being nasty, spreading rumors and basically coming after Momo's life. Now it's more like banter. A bit heated, sure, but not unlike the banter between friends. In fact, I think someone made the comparison to Natsu and Gray because they also fight a lot, but it's never out of malice. They fight because they're like brothers, and sisters do the same thing. But I think another good analogy is Sakura and Ino, because we know that Sakura and Ino fight because they're friends, and they each want to keep up with each other. Naturally, they both say they like Sasuke because they both have a lot of the same goals. And this is generally true for Aira as well. Because she has this crush on Okarun like Momo, it naturally leads readers to draw a comparison between the two. They like the same person, and they have a lot of other similarities. For example, in chapter 73, Momo and Aira both claim credit for beating an alien. Here, we can literally see the two characters arm in arm, both on the same page. And just after this, we see them both attacking Kinta as he's trying to appear cold. So in a lot of ways, Momo and Aira really do have a sister dynamic, and it makes Aira an irreplaceable member of the main cast. On the same note, Aira also grows into the big sister of this group. As the main cast grows and they fight bigger, badder enemies, they start to form a team of space monster weirdos. And that team is led not by Okarun, not by Momo, but by Aira of all people. When the main characters train to fight a bunch of aliens, it's Aira that leads the team training and organizes the other characters. You can even see this leader dynamic in some of the dinner scenes when Aira is standing while everyone else is sitting. So in a way, Aira is the captain of the other characters. She isn't the elder like Seiko, she doesn't drive the plot like Momo or Okarun, but she's the center of this team and is often the one who organizes them during big fights. Because of this, Aira perfectly complements Momo, because while Momo drives the plot but isn't as great of a fighter, Aira is a dependable captain that takes the lead in fights even while still being a secondary character, which again makes her an irreplaceable character. Plus, she really is funny. I like how over the top she is. Like when she walks into Momo's house in heels with a giant hat and massive suitcase like she's some celebrity. Or in all the scenes with Baby Shrimp when she really acts like a big sister and even plays with him. Aira leads the other characters, but she adds to the overall character chemistry. She may not have a great dynamic with every character, but because she acts as the big sister, she contributes to this main cast feeling like a family. Now, look, I get it. The whole crushing on Okarun thing is kind of dumb. Like, it can be funny sometimes, but it usually isn't. So when a bad joke gets told over and over, it's easy to resent Aira. And especially when Momo and Okarun are clearly a thing and she still keeps doing it, it's kind of wild to see Aira openly hang on to Okarun and try to flirt with him. So that much I can say is slightly annoying. But other than that, I love Aira. She's usually pretty funny, she's obviously great in fights. Of course, she serves the important role of team leader, but most importantly, she is the big sister of this story. While everyone is naturally drawn to Momo and hangs out at Momo's house, Aira adds to this dynamic by acting as the sister that fights with Momo just as easily as she takes her side. She's not exactly my favorite character, but she's an important member of the main cast that helps to make it feel like a real family. While she can feel like a tropey character at times, more often than not she shows us why Dandadan has such great characters. In addition to this, because she's so much like her, Aira often reminds us why it is we like Momo so much. So, while everyone may not like her, Aira will always be one of Dandadan's best characters. But now I'd like to hear what you think. How would you describe Aira? How does she compare to Dandadan's other characters? Share your thoughts and see what everyone else has to say down in the comments. I'll pick my favorite and share it as comment of the week on my community tab. And if you'd like to join me for other discussions like this one, then check out my live streams every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. In those live streams, I react to new chapters as well as discuss other anime and manga topics. Also, check out my other Dandadan videos, which you can find in the playlist linked right here. Until then, thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.